Okay, so what we have here is a voiceover of the Chapter 3 practice test. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are supposedly examples that you would do with transformation. But you got the form, you got the equation there, you put it into your calculator, you graph it, you match up what you see on your calculator with the correct response, either A, B, C, or D. Number two, if you forget about where absolute value is to graph, you go to y equals, obviously. You go to math, you arrow over to number, and the very first option is absolute value. It's called ABS, short for absolute value. So that's how you find that if you want to graph that V-shaped absolute value problem. All right, so number four, a couple of ways of getting around this. What I'm doing here is taking the square root of negative 15 and I'm writing that as the square root of positive 15 times the square root of negative 1. Now, my calculator can give me an answer, but if you look up here, you don't see any decimals. But what I do see, using some kind of common sense, is that this is a positive value. Well, letter C and letter A are both negative, so I know it can't be those two. And then I is never contained under the radical sign, it's always outside. So, it's one way of looking at it. Or simply say, hey, square root of 15 times the square root of negative 1, square root of negative 1 is the letter I. So that's what we've got, letter B. Number 5, you're looking at the negative of the square root of negative 21. Same idea here. I can put this into my calculator, square root of negative 21, and come up with negative, 4 point whatever. And if I look at number 5, I know my answer is negative. Well, it can't be letter C and it can't be D. So I don't think it's 21i. It's the negative of the square root of 21i. If you look at what I've done here, I've written the negative the square of negative 21. The square of negative 21 I've written as positive 21 times the square of negative 1, which is the letter I. So you still get the negative sign. You've got the square of negative 1 and the I is outside. Many times that I is written in front. So there's no confusion. Number 6, straight out, if you put this into your calculator, make certain, though, that you've got your mode set to A plus BI instead of real. If you don't have it set to A plus, your mode set to A plus BI, you're going to get an error message, all right, non-real number it's going to say because your mode has been set. Number 7, we're looking at the square root of negative 32. Well, negative 32 I wrote as the square root of positive 16 times the square root of 2 times the square root of negative 1. Reason being is that 16 is a factor of 32. It's the largest factor of 32. That's a perfect square. 4 is a factor of 32. It's a perfect square, but it's not the largest. It's like reducing the lowest terms. You always find the greatest common factor. Here, looking for the greatest factor of 32. That's a perfect square. It's 16. So the square root of 16 is 4 times the square root of 2, and the square root of negative 1 we know is letter I. It was a positive value, and, well, number 7, letter A was negative. It's not going to be 8i. That's crazy. And I'm not sure. Well, square root of 4 is, square root of 16 is not 2. It's square root of 16 is 4. Let us see. All right, so numbers 8, 9, 10, and 12, you're adding and subtracting. The letter I is just like any other variable. You combine like terms, you combine integers with integers and terms containing I with other terms containing I. Just looking at it from a common sense standpoint, negative 8 and a positive 11 is a positive 3. 6i and 7i is 13i. So there's no real need to do the calculator. You just combine i's with other i's and integers with other integers. But if that bothers you, the calculator will do it. It takes time. Just remember on numbers 11 and 12, this minus sign that precedes the parenthesis, it obviously changes the signs of the terms within. If you're doing it with your TI knows smart enough to figure that out. So here are numbers 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all done with your calculator, but you're just combining. I could be any other letter. I could be a letter X. It's just a variable. Combine i's with i's and integers with integers. Now 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. These here again can all be done with your calculator. And I would suggest you do that. I really don't want to FOIL these out. It just takes too much time. All right, so here's the deal. There's 15. There's, I'm sorry, 13, 14, 15. Now 16 and 17 are division problems. Your calculator is going to give you an answer of, in a decimal representation, negative 1.5 is the same as negative 3 halves. 0.5 is the same as 1 half. So that's why on number 16, it ends up being letter B. Negative 1.5 is negative 3 halves. 0.5 is the same thing as 1 half. So, in fact, it's a negative, so negative 0.5, negative 1 half. 17 was interesting. You get this, when you put it in your calculator, you hit enter, you get this decimal representation. But if I look at 17, they all look like rational numbers. They're all fractions. So what I did, I put this in my calculator, and I went to math fraction, and it took these nasty decimals and made them into nice fractions for me. And that's how I knew the correct answer was letter B. All right, so that's kind of neat. Neat. It's interesting where I never said neat before. Must be the rain and the wind. I'm doing this Monday afternoon about 5:30. Rainy and windy. I should have said this openly. I hope this finds you, your family's safe, and you're safe. Like I say, I don't think. In fact, Bridgewater's already announced we're not going back. All right, this semester. So we've got this. Well, I'm talking to Bridgewater, but actually, you guys are at Massasoit, so never mind. I still don't think we're going back to Massasoit either. But right now, they're telling us May 4th. Well, I'm not too sure I want to go back May 4th. I don't know about whether you want to go back either, but we'll deal with that. All right, so what I did here with these is I did them all using the quadratic formula that I programmed into my calculator. The problem is sometimes you get these nasty decimals, and what you would have to do is, take each one of these answers and sort of change it into a decimal. It's 18 and 19 not an issue because they were whole numbers. Number 20 was okay. The problems came about in numbers 21, 22, and 23. All right, so I did them with the calculator, but you would have to look at those answers and then change those answers to decimals and match the answer that your calculator gave you with the quadratic formula programmed to the answer. So to avoid that, what I did was right below here, if you click on this link, all right, not from this video because videos don't have hard links, but I'm going to provide you with a PDF version of this voiceover. You click on that link, or actually, if you click right here, it'll actually play the Screencastify. And what I've done here is to do these all with the quadratic formula, pencil and paper. And towards the end, my voice gets a little ahead of my pen. I don't know what happened there, but the first part is pretty good. And even it's just that the last two, my voice gets a little ahead of the pen, but you can see what's going on. So long and short of it is, yeah, you got your calculator. It'll give you an answer, maybe a decimal, but it's still a matter. It's a good idea to know the quadratic formula. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2. It's not all that difficult to put those numbers in and deal with it. So I got the video there. And then powers of I. To put this into a calculator, there's a video that I talked about. It says the answer comes up this really nasty thing. What you need to do is find either a minus or a plus sign and ignore the nasty stuff. The nasty stuff is the things that contain E. This is all nonsense here, all right? And there's my answer. Another way of doing it is that I to the 28th is I to the 4th, which we know is 1, raised to the 7th power. 1 to the 7th power is still 1. And this one here, when I put it into the calculator, came out exactly letter A. That was not an issue, so not so bad. Check out this video. Like I say, you won't see it. You won't be able to click on it from this video, but I will supply you with the actual PDF. And out of that PDF, you can either click here or actually click this little arrow here, and that'll play for you.